Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whenever you're watching me right now. My name is Jay Luke, the owner and operator of the Passionist Network, where we amplify the voices, elevate the culture, and champion the musician. Don't forget, you can get anything in our store. All you got to do is, put whatever you want in the cart and then get 30% off your purchase. All you got to do is type in HBCU band. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this. This is the one that everybody was waiting on, right? Everybody was waiting to see Valley and Southern, right? I'm just going to assume that. But anyway, let me talk about this for a second. I want y'all to go down this rabbit hole with me. To me, this was a lot more than just the fifth. So first of all, I believe that this matchup was an okay matchup. I don't really believe that Mississippi Valley was a specific challenge for Southern like that. I believe that the showing was great from both bands, or good from both bands. Halftime, I believe that they were preparing for the Labor Day Classic showcase. So both field shows were respectable. I thought both of them were good, but I wanted to talk about the fifth in particular. And the reason why, obviously this is probably the biggest thing that we are talking about, but I want to talk about the fifth in particular because I was able to sit down and really process Southern, right? So first off, I don't believe that Mississippi Valley won the fifth. I think Southern won the fifth. And I can say that in the guise of, unlike what my conversation and my comments were about Texas Southern and Prairie View, right? Where there, in my opinion, there was equal footing on both sides. I don't feel the same way about Mississippi Valley and Southern. I feel like there was a level of cleanliness and preparedness and cohesion and sound that Southern had that Mississippi Valley didn't have. I feel like there were some attacks and releases and things like that, some sketchiness in some of their arrangements. Not their arrangements themselves, but just, some of the playing. I also feel like Southern was a little bit more prepared than what Valley was, in my opinion. So for all of those things and all of those reasons, that's why I feel like Southern got the W. I feel like they won that. But I actually did a little bit more processing, right? So first of all, I'm going to talk about some of the things I've heard in the fifth, right? So they started out the fifth with the Demi Lovato tune, Confident, Southern did. And honestly, I believe that is a really good song to be able to start a fifth off with. Like F concerts everywhere. Like you can't, in my opinion, big sound, you can't lose starting out with that. I would also argue that that's probably a good ending song too, or second to the end. Then Valley played the Earth, Wind and Fire tune. I can't think of the name of it. And then after that, Southern came back with the Tony Braxton tune. And then I just kind of felt like it went down from there. Not like it was just like horrible, like, oh my gosh, everything was terrible. It just wasn't as great. It wasn't as good. The energy, in my opinion, was just a little different. Again, I want to make sure I preface this by saying I'm looking from it from the view and the lens of watching it here, not in the space or outside. And shout out to Killer Kev for this video, man. Got to give everybody their props, man, for all the hard work y'all do. But I was able to process something a little differently. I kind of understand some of the thought processes that people have when it comes to Southern and them sounding different. I kind of get it, and I get it from watching this fifth. So I need y'all to go with me on this. I still stand by what I said, which is different iteration of Southern based on whoever the leader is of the person in front, right? But what I hear now and what I'm really, really getting at, and this, I was able to process it from watching this. I hear a multitude of different arranging styles. That's what I hear. And I don't base, because I don't know everybody personally, right? I don't know who's in the lab. I can't see who's writing, so on and so forth. So I don't base what I hear or who's on the podium to whoever wrote it. I just don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because I remember my years at Prairie View, and there were arrangements that I wrote that I didn't conduct. And that was fine for me. There are arrangements that I remember that Hop wrote that he didn't conduct. And I'm pretty sure at the time that was fine for him. And I'm pretty sure it may be fine for him now. There were arrangements that Prof. Chapman wrote that he didn't conduct. There were arrangements that Brown wrote that he didn't conduct. And so I don't look at programs and predicate the person on the podium as the person who wrote it. That's just me. That may be the rule. That's just not me. But what I will say is I definitely hear different arranging styles throughout this whole fifth, right? So with the Demi Lovato tune, I hear a lot of unison, stuff like that. Big chords throughout the program or the whole group, so on and so forth, right? Then I hear something different, similar, but different in the Toni Braxton tune. And so let me break it down a little bit more. So like some arrangements that I hear from them now is like very similar to what I just said, right? Like you'll get a lot of unison in the different places, 2 or 3 different sections, or maybe have the same part. You may have the whole band on a chord or something to that degree, right? Then you may get another arrangement where it feels really dark and rich in the lows, and it feels dark in the highs, but then the mid section is not as powerful. It's very empty in the mids, right? And then you may get another style of arranging where it's old school style, right? Like where you put the onus on whatever section is carrying the lead voice for that, right? So like you may have chord in the trombone section and then counter melody somewhere in the mellophone section, but then you're asking the trumpet section to take the lead in the solo voice, right? And that's it, just the trumpet section by itself, which may drown them out, which then for the listener will say, well, the trumpets suck. But that's because it's not compared to other arranging styles where they'll have the trumpet and the euphonium and the mellophone all playing the same line, right? But my point is that I hear different arranging styles is my point. And I think that plays into the thought process that people feel like they don't sound like the same Southern. And again, I definitely place that on the different version or the different iteration of Southern. And one thing you got to realize, right? People are trying to find their footing, right? As an assistant and as an arranger, and I'm talking about me now. As an assistant, as an arranger, one thing that you understand and you find out, one, you have a lot more time to arrange than a headband director. Ked can't arrange in the number that he was able to arrange when he was an assistant, right? Hamer, as a headband director, couldn't arrange in the number that he could when he was an assistant. So as an assistant, you have more freedom to arrange. But the other thing is that it's almost like your lab band as an arranger, right? You're trying to figure out what works, what your style is, what works for the group that you're in. You're trying to find yourself, discover yourself. And so I really believe that that's kind of some of the things that's going on, and not specific to Southern, but because Southern is such a huge market and it's because what everybody listens to or what everybody wants to sound like a specific way. I think that's what's happening is that you have different arranging styles and you have different arrangers, and they're trying to find their footing. They're trying to find what works for them, but also what works for the group that's in front of them. Because remember that every year you get a different group. Just because you had a horses for trumpets last year don't mean you got them same horses this year. And so I think that's what's happening. I believe that's what's happening. That's my opinion from what I see. So you guys tell me in the comment section. First of all, I don't believe that Valley won this fifth quarter. So I want to make sure I put it that way. And I've already given my reasons, but you guys tell me in the comment section, am I off? Am I off in the way that I just perceived that I just broke that down? Because I don't think that I've seen it broken down like that. And I could be absolutely wrong, but you guys tell me in the comment section. Also tell me who you thought won this fifth. Do you think that Valley won this fifth? I don't believe so, but do you believe that Valley won this fifth? You guys tell me inside of the comment section. Also, don't forget, you can get 30% off your purchase of anything in our store. All you got to do is type in HBCU band. Again, man, y'all tell me y'all thoughts inside of the comment section. Again, That's just my perception, man. But y'all tell me, man. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And I'll highlight y'all later. Peace.